I'm Mark Hughes. Welcome to this edition of Disability Viewpoints. It's an honor for me to have Nick Wilkie in the studio, and plus we have a surprise guest today. We'll let you know who that is in a few minutes. But she's big in the neighborhood. She's a disc jockey. She's everything she thought she could be, and we'll introduce her in a few minutes. I do want to mention that Access Press had a great gathering a while ago at Monster Lake Brewing here in town, and it was great to see everybody. Matter of fact, that's how I found out of my guest today, Joe Dailey, who has a nonprofit, and he also was instrumental in getting hand-driven bikes into the Twin Cities Marathon, and we'll learn more about that in a few minutes. But first, let's welcome Nick Wilkie to the show, and he can talk about who he has, and he'll introduce the mystery guest.
So, Mark, thanks so much for having me on again.
You're welcome.
It was great to be a part of the event last week for Access Press.
It was fun.
I'm excited to hear about your interview with Joe, and with me today is our super secret special guest, Katey DeCelle.
Yeah.
And Katey's going to come on. She's going to be here today to talk about her work with WFNU Community Radio in Frogtown, and I'm very excited to have her here.
Even in yesteryear, Katey did some great work. So no matter what you say about her, you got to love her in this neighborhood because she's done everything well, and it's an honor to have her on this show today. So we'll be back to kick things off in just 2 minutes. Please stay tuned and watch Disability Viewpoints. It's coming up next. Welcome back to Disability Viewpoints. I'm Mark Hughes. With me today is Joe Dailey. No, it's not the mayor of Chicago, and it's not ABC7's lead anchor for quite a few years. It is our own Joe Dailey of the Twin Cities. He has a nonprofit called Get Up, Stand Up, a cure for paralysis in the Twin Cities, and he's also been part of the Twin Cities Marathon. So we have a lot of stories to cover on this segment. So Joe, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Get Up, Stand Up, a Cure for Paralysis. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
So Get Up, Stand Up to Cure Paralysis Foundation was founded in 2014 by a group of individuals with spinal cord injuries or relatives of individuals with spinal cord injuries. Our initial goal was to get funding in the state of Minnesota towards curative function in spinal cord injury.
And how's that going?
Well, it went well in 2015. We presented a bill at the state capitol that we asked for $10 million in funding and got $1 million. So we got our foot in the door. We went back in 2017, asked for $5 million, and we got $6 million.
That's pretty good.
That is currently funded. It is called the Minnesota Spinal Cord Injury Traumatic Brain Injury Research Bill. And organizations in the state of Minnesota can apply for funding as long as the research is in Minnesota and goes towards either restorative function in spinal cord injury or traumatic brain injury or both.
Great, and that's pretty quick work as far as putting a bill together and getting results. That was pretty quick. So what did you learn by all that?
I learned more things than I ever wanted to know in going to the Capitol.
Yeah.
And how things work.
Right. So now talking about the organization, where is it today and where do you think it's going to go in the next 5-10 years?
Well, where it is today, we focus on 3 areas. So we focus on research, fitness, and education. On our fitness piece, we offer 6 $2,500 scholarships each year towards individuals to use in a exercise program within the state of Minnesota, because we feel it's important for individuals to be fit, for that they're able to take whatever cures as they come. Yeah. The second portion is the education piece, where we host monthly peer group meetings to educate our members on all sorts of different topics and a sounding board. And the third portion is research. And we have a researcher on our board, and we also partner with a national organization called Unite to Fight Paralysis, which is
Great.
also based in Minnesota.
Did you ever have this idea when you were a kid that you wanted to really do this? And did you ever think this outcome would be so great?
No. No.
good, good.
And speaking of outcomes, we just recently had held our annual fundraiser and raised the most money we have ever raised.
What is your annual fundraiser?
Our annual fundraiser, we call it a social, and it's held at the Minneapolis Club. And it's usually the last Friday in September because September is Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month.
Right.
So we have the social there, a silent auction, and also ask donors to participate. That's the only way we raise funds.
And how much are your tickets for that?
Our tickets range. If you have a spinal cord injury, you get a deduction. Otherwise, they're between $40 and $50.
That's pretty good. That's good. You have a good turnout.
Yes, we had a great turnout, and as I said, this year was our best year yet.
And how do you market that?
We just market it through social media.
Great. That's a good idea. Good for you. And you've also had some doings at the Twin Cities Marathon.
Yes, I have. Prior to my spinal cord injury, I was a marathon runner. And of course, running was my passion. After my injury, I had to find a way to redirect that energy from running. And I got involved with hand cycling at Courage Kenny.
Right.
And so started hand cycling and never really gave a thought of participating in a marathon. But then Unite to Fight Paralysis approached and wanted to get hand cycles in the Twin Cities Marathon so that we, as recipients of funds or research from Unite to Fight Paralysis, could also raise money.
I see. Was there an obstacle as far as getting a Twin Cities Marathon?
There was an obstacle, yes.
Because it was on the news. That's how I know about it.
Yeah, there was an obstacle. We started in 2022, if memory serves, and first asked if we could allow hand cycles in the race. And initially, they were going to allow a hand cycle in the race because they thought it was a modified recumbent bike.
They were not.
They were not. They were not allowed. After I made my registration, they gave me a call and were not comfortable with hand cycles being in the race.
Huh. So how did you convince them?
So Unite to Fight Paralysis continued its journey working with the folks at the Medtronic Twin Cities Marathon and basically let them know that they were discriminating against those of us
Absolutely.
that used other mobility devices. So we basically just educated them that we wanted to participate in the race and we wanted to participate using our mobility devices. And the argument basically was, you don't tell the runners what kind of shoes they need to wear. Why are you telling us what type of mobility device we need in the race? So in 2024, they allowed 4 hand cycles to be in the race. And this year was the first year they allowed all mobility devices.
So what changed their way of thinking?
Basically, we just convinced them that we wanted to participate and educated them that we had the right to participate just like anyone else.
Okay. So did you tell them that someday instead of them wearing running shoes, they might get a chance to use one of these bikes?
I have said that many times that all of us are just a heartbeat away from joining the disability community.
So anybody that wants to get involved in your nonprofit organization, how can we do that?
Just send an email to info@goosu2cure.org. Check out our website at goosu2cure.org.
Do that again, would you?
Sure. Our website is Goosu, Gusu, 2, cure, CURE.org.
So between these two subjects, What have you learned the most? What do you wish you could do over again?
Well, that's a tough question. What I have learned the most is that when with regard to the marathon, when those of us with disabilities are allowed to participate, we have the support of the entire community around us. The able-bodied community probably cheered us on more than I anticipated. What was the second part of your question? What would I do differently?
What would you do differently now? We've talked about the Twin Cities Marathon. Let's say in your nonprofit organization, what would you do differently? What have you learned the most putting all these things together?
What I've learned the most is there's a different approach to every situation. And people are just people, and we just need to talk and communicate.
Great. What was it like working for you in the House, Senate, and Legislature? How did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it?
I enjoyed parts of it, but there's so much wasted time, in my opinion, that goes back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now we're coming down to the final word segment of the show. We're getting down to about the last 2 minutes here. So now you can say anything you want to say, anything I forgot to cover or didn't cover, anything you want to say. Open mic for you.
Open mic. That's something I should take great advantage of because you don't get that offered to you very often.
So now's your chance. Hit it.
So the only thing that pops to mind is for everyone to remember that the disability community is open for you to join at any time. And you don't need to be disabled to join the disability community.
No.
But we'd love your input. We'd love you to be involved. Get educated about what's happening out there, and that pretty much we're all the same.
We all need to work together, in other
Yes.
words. So when you put your bill together in the legislature, did you think, oh, this is a lot of work, or oh, it'll never happen? And we're surprised when you got the results you did? I'm surprised because it takes a lot longer than that a lot of times.
Well, yeah, I was a little surprised. I did not realize the work that had to go into it and the number of meetings that you need to set up with legislatures.
And again, I didn't mean that in a demeaning way. Good for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And what do you think? Who do you think helped you the most, or what helped you the most to succeed as quick as you did?
I have to give a lot of credit to a co-founding member of Get Up, Stand, Take Care of Paralysis. His name is Matthew Roderick, and he's now currently the executive director of Unite to Fight Paralysis.
Great.
And he is a self-described zealot. He has a son with a spinal cord injury, and he was the driving force in getting us all involved and moving forward.
Well, that's great to hear. I'd like to have you on again as things develop. That's going to do it for this segment. We'll be back with more Disability Viewpoints in about 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Disability Viewpoints. I'm your co-host this month, Nicholas Wilkie. With me today is my wonderful friend and colleague, Katey DeCelle. I brought Katey on today to talk about her work that she does with WFNU. And Katey, can you share with our viewers what sparked a passion for you in community radio?
Thanks, Nick. Happy to be here. That's a loaded question. Well, I started off, let me start from the actual beginning. I started as a special ed assistant at a North Minneapolis high school, and I didn't have anything to do over the summers. So I saw an ad in the back of the city pages. That's how long ago this was. And it was for KFAI radio, and they wanted interns, and I had no radio training, nothing like that. So I went in to intern for KFAI radio, was there for 7 years-ish. Yeah, and so I learned all the things about radio at KFAI, which is a great place, and free radio broadcast training. I learned how to do news. I learned how to run the board. I had a funk music radio, late night music radio show for 7 years there. And then I heard that Frogtown in St. Paul was starting their own radio station, and that's the neighborhood I'm from. So I left KFAI and I helped them start the radio station in Frogtown.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so my next question has to do with the origins of WFNU. So you've been there the whole time, right?
I have been there the whole
Okay.
time. There were, I joined a group of amazing people who had already had the ball rolling, trying to get the station up and running. But I began using what I learned at KFAI to help other people who had radio experience and non-radio people. In 2016 is when we officially got our antenna up and running and began broadcasting on FM. And kind of the story, if you're not familiar with low power radio, the story behind it is when Barack Obama was president, he opened up the FCC applications for communities of color and low-income communities to apply for FCC licenses. And so there's a large amount of low-power stations that exist now because that President Obama did that. So Frogtown was one of those neighborhoods that applied for a license, and during that time, Frogtown Neighborhood Association was the group that applied for that license, and then things just kept growing and growing, and here we are.
That's awesome. Now, I already know from some of our previous conversations, like you've broadcast at a couple of different points.
Correct.
Around Frogtown.
Yes.
Would you like to say where you started?
Sure.
And then where you are now?
Yeah. So we started broadcasting at 995 University Avenue in St. Paul, and we had 2 laptops, we had a mixer, and we had 1 microphone, and it was on a folding table, and that's all we had. And the building, a lot of different things were housed in the building. There was a grocery store, there was a restaurant, lots of different things. And so we would have people come and go through the building and just record their radio show. And at this point in time, we had not built the antenna yet, so it was just online radio.
Okay.
We built the antenna, and then I think it was 5-6 years later, we moved to the basement of a church, the basement of Faith Lutheran Church in Frogtown. We transformed an old locker room and an old janitor's office into our working production studio and on-air studio. And so there was literally, we had lockers from the old locker room that we kept like records and CDs in.
Nice.
And we had a working toilet and working shower that we kind of covered up. But it worked for us. And what did not work so well was it's an old church, you know, 1800s, and it's old radiator heat.
Right.
So every time the heat went on, you would hear like this sound and banging of the pipes, which is not good for radio.
Right.
So we eventually moved in summer of 2021. We moved to the top floor of the Radisson Hotel, which is the hotel that's next to the old Sears building on Marion in 94. And we've been there for almost 5 years now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool journey. Just talking about building blocks of what you know, what was to what now. I'm imagining that the hotel's a better broadcast point too.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And there's parking and there's room service.
Right.
That's
That's
nice.
cool. That's cool. What about the Frogtown community keeps you engaged?
Well, I grew up in Midway Frogtown neighborhood, and there's just so many things that happen in Frogtown that people don't know about unless you're living there or working there. 825 Arts, Springboard for the Arts are just 2 right up off the top of my head that when people hear about these great arts organizations right in the middle of Frogtown, they're like, what is this place? I didn't know this existed. So besides the places like that, there's so many restaurants, there's so many businesses, there's so many people from all types of walks of life that live and work in Frogtown. And just being able to amplify those places and people and giving people a platform to talk about whatever their interests may be. That's what makes me really excited about Frogtown.
Awesome, awesome. What are some of the projects that you either have in the works or already doing right now that are on the schedule?
One of my favorite things that we've done, we were talking a little bit before the show. I've done a lot of work being a PCA for the past like 30-some years, and kind of I wanted to mold together the work I've done in the disability community with the radio work. So we started a program called Here I Am, which is we're teaching people with developmental disabilities radio and broadcasting skills in order for them to create their own podcast or radio program. And we've gotten so many great episodes and great radio shows from this, and we've had people who have been in these programs who've gone on to pursue other things in radio and media, which is really exciting. So that's one of my favorite things we've done. More recently, and that's a grant-funded program that happens whenever we get the funding to do these programs. More recently, we've created a podcast studio, a video podcast studio, and audio podcast studio. And so being in a hotel, we are in an old hotel room, and our on-air studio is the old bathroom. There's something about like we have to transform these old spaces to make it ours, right? So the actual hotel room where the bed used to be, we've split that in half, and there's a soundproof curtain with a soundproof area for video and audio podcasting, which is separate from our on-air production. So nonprofits or anyone can come to us and say, hey, I want to do a podcast. And the nice thing about podcasts are you can say whatever you want to say on a podcast. You don't have to follow the FCC rules, because we don't necessarily put these podcasts out on the radio.
Gotcha.
So that's another form of revenue for the radio station.
That's awesome. Which leads me to one question that I didn't want to forget. How's the station funded?
Well, we're a nonprofit, and we're mostly funded by grants.
Okay.
We do have a lot of listener support as well. So we probably have 2, sometimes 3, like fundraisers per year where we ask people to donate to the station to help us out. But we are a very small station. It's myself and one other part-time staff, and that's besides rent and like our electric bills and any kind of computer licensing programs. We have a small budget, but it's still, we have bills to pay. So grants, listener donations, and then we do some underwriting, which is basically like commercials, but we can't call them commercials because we are a nonprofit. So it's those 3 things make up the majority of our income.
Awesome. Well, as you know, I also work for a not as small, but a small nonprofit, and you know, I'm always intrigued to bring guests on that are doing great things in the community, Katey. And as you know, we have so many mutual passions that we're into together, and I love that some of your origins are also like got involved as a PCA. Part of the disability community is like part of the fabric of who you are as an individual. I was tickled that you wanted to come on our show, and really want to thank you for coming on. Do you have anything else that you want to share?
Thank you, Nick. I'm happy to be here. I came on Disability Viewpoints probably 17 years ago with a young man, Devin, that I was PCAing for. So I'm happy to be back, and I'll end by saying if anyone's interested in listening to Frogtown Radio, you can listen at 94.1 FM in St. Paul or online at WFNU.org, or you can download WFNU's smartphone app and listen on your phone.
There's an app.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you again, Katey. Always a pleasure. On behalf of Mark and the rest of the folks here at the studio, thank you for watching Disability Viewpoints, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Well, that half hour went by just like that, but when you have guessed the magnitude of Joe Dailey, who has done even so much in a short time in the House and Senate, and got push bikes through Twin Cities Marathon, which wasn't easy, and has a great nonprofit. I mean, we learned a lot of information in a few minutes, and Nick did a great job with his interview, and Katey DeCelle, well, she's got to come back again because there just wasn't enough time to talk about everything.
Well, Mark, I wholeheartedly agree, and I really hope people get a chance to check out what Frogtown Radio has to offer and everything that Katey and her crew are doing in the neighborhood. So,
if you think that's something, you haven't seen nothing yet. But thanks for watching this show, and we hope to have Katey back pretty soon, and Joe Dailey too. So thanks for the watching and the support of this show, and we'll be back next time with more Disability Viewpoints. By the way, let's thank Nick Wilkie for coming out here today, and wish everybody a great holiday season. Take care. Bye now.